Hi there, fellow spiritual traveler. My name is Tor and I'm an intuitive guide. Spirituality, meditation, crystals, tarot, spirit guides, past lives have been a part of my life since childhood. My grandmother was a clairvoyant medium back home in Norway, although I'm currently living full-time in London. In this video, I will be talking a bit about my understanding of past lives, karma, the path that we're on, and how that infinite, timeless sense of space and time and energy and dimensions can impact our daily life today. Try to perhaps dispel some of the myths and also to illuminate some of the truths. Of course, anything with past lives is really not provable beyond our subjective experience. There are, of course, experiences of instantaneous healing following a past life regression meditation that gives some credence to what is possible. There are stories of children leaving something somewhere in a different life and then coming back and recognizing it and discovering the same thing that they left. I have not experienced any of those things precisely myself. My teacher tells the story of a flight attendant who was really struggling with arthritis, I believe, in her fingers. And she'd seen all the doctors and they could not find a cure for what she was going through. And then my teacher guided her through a past life regression meditation, and she found in a past life that she had been a washerwoman. So her fingers had like crumbled up, right, from washing the floors, and she died with those sort of kind of hands. And then instantaneously, nearly, in that meditation, arthritis ceased to exist in her fingers, and she could spread them, and there was no problem. And so these kinds of events are possible. I suspect they are few and far in between, as otherwise everybody would be having past lives experiences and having moments of instantaneous healing, right? I am somebody who also firmly believes in the medical establishment and that we should always seek professional medical help before anything else. Like, that's really, really important. I don't think that science and spirituality are mutually exclusive. I think that in so many ways they can work hand in hand. Of course, the science faculty would not agree with that, but that's all right. Doesn't really matter in the end. And so, but I do think that, both of those two things are really important to be working together. My life before this one, what I have seen, what I have felt in my meditation is that I was some sort of mountaineer in Canada about perhaps the turn of the previous century. That's at least my feeling. I have these feelings of quite a hard life, quite a sturdy life. In many ways, though, he was quite spiritual and quite open-minded, because I can also see sort of memories of him working with like the natives, for example. So there was some interaction there, some learning from them, some exchange of experiences. So I think that he was perhaps unusual for his time. I've also seen many other lives previous to that. And I think, the main kind of benefit that I have received from experiencing my past lives is that what I feel in those moments, perhaps I can see myself on the battlefield, or perhaps I have seen myself, being without food or really experiencing scarcity, is that then in this life I get this internal feeling that I can do this again because I have done this before. of course, the challenges that we are focusing in our modern contemporary setting is very different, but how we respond, the strength that we show, the endurance that we show, in so many ways is very similar, right? It's a very different experience, of course, but it is very similar in that way. And I think that through receiving the energy from that past life, through connecting with that, through my spirit guides, I get this internal strength. And also, of course, we should never spiritually bypass our current and very real experience today. I mean, I don't know when you'll be watching this video, but there is a lot of very difficult situations occurring all over the world right now, and we should never in so many ways disregard that or not take that seriously or not do something to help and support those people. But at least in my inner meditative landscape, as I sit in that feeling of timelessness, it gives me a feeling of peace, of solace, of stillness. And in that sense of peace, solace, and stillness, kind of the rougher edges of my thoughts and feelings just becomes smoother. I think that's the best way to describe it. It doesn't take them away, because I still think that it's really important that we feel and think and embody what we are going through, to process them, to integrate them, and to perhaps allow those kind of thoughts and feelings to become fuel for what we do in our daily life today. So I do feel that reincarnation, the journey through time, is real, and that we have been here before and that we will be here again. I know that in the spiritual space, we often talk about stuff such as soul contracts. I couldn't tell you whether that's true or false in many ways. However, my feeling is that we don't necessarily have a choice, quote unquote, to choose the life that we get given this time. Nor do I think that there is such a thing as sin and reward in the way that we understand it. My understanding that I've received from my teacher and also from the guide is that for all of us, there is a learning queue, right? It's not like our spirit is sitting before they are reincarnated and they're looking through like a Vogue catalog, looking at like luxury experiences or looking at Primark on not so luxury experiences. Obviously, no shame or judgment on Primark, but of course those clothes are cheaper, right? It's just a metaphor. And I just think that my experience, my feeling is that there's just a learning queue that keeps on going and going and going, almost like an algorithm in a way. Sorry for use of the sort of more data sciencey technical term there, but I think it's much more simply like an ongoing learning queue, because again, we look around the world, right? Who would choose to come and live so many of the incredibly difficult and challenging and awful lives that people have to go through, right? It's very easy for me to sit in a lovely flat in London and talk about these kind of things, because of course, my life has its own challenges in its own way, but it's nothing compared to somebody who's currently going through a famine or being affected by climate change, right? So, like, it just can't compare in so many ways. I mean, that gives me a very strong sense of perspective and also of gratitude. But yeah, it can't compare. So, I feel that what's really important is that we do get a feeling of that timeless energy that spans across time, space, dimensions, not to bypass our feelings, but to feel that there is a continuation of life, to feel that we've been here before and we're going to be here again, and it all stretches through time, because I think it just contributes to that feeling of inner peace. However, I don't think it's meant to stop us from taking action on injustices. It's not meant for us to sit and do nothing when others are going through a difficult time. If anything, I hope that that sort of timeless understanding will lead us to have more capacity, more space to care for others and to care for ourselves, and to have more compassion, empathy, and kindness and understanding. Again, all of these things are really easy to say, words are cheap, actions are expensive. And so we still really have to act to help each other, to create a feeling of connectedness and community. And we do that by supporting those who are going through a difficult time. But none of that is like, those things aren't mutually exclusive, right? Two things can be true at the same time. We can have this feeling of reincarnation, and we can also have a sense of supporting those who have less. Not because it creates like a moral ledger where being a good person gets you a better life next time. I do realize that some people sort of lean into that, and that's fine. If that gives them motivation to be a better person, great, go for it. That doesn't really do anything for me. Like, I want to be a good person and do good things because that just feels like the right thing to do, not because I think that's going to bring me closer to a deeper feeling of enlightenment. It's just the right thing to do, right? Of course, everybody is motivated in different ways. Whatever motivates you to be somebody who supports, who helps, to heals, to be somebody of service, go for it. Whatever you need, right? Because I think that we are stepping into a timeline which is going to be more difficult. And so more and more of us have to be somebody who is positive, who takes positive and encouraging and empowering actions. And from that place, we can do our best to ease some of the challenges that are around us right now, because there's enough of them already, and also the challenges that are coming. I get to connect with my past lives in meditation. There'll be plenty of YouTube videos where you can do the same. Do it gently, do it slowly. It's not something to rush, and it's also something to use with great discernment, because our minds can be incredibly fanciful and creative. So it's really easy to, believe that you were some sort of pharaoh during the Egyptian times. Like, who wasn't? Sorry, I'm being ironic. So it's really important that you also experience a lot of discernment, that you approach it with care, and to be really honest with yourself about perhaps where you are making things up, and also where you are genuinely, authentically connecting with a past life, and just allowing that experience to be what it is, and to take with you the strength, the learning, whatever that life wants to show you, because it will only show up as a way to give you guidance, right? That is the purpose of a past life. It is meant to give you guidance in this life. And if it doesn't give you guidance in this life, then it's pointless. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that perhaps illuminates some of your understanding of past lives. If you have any questions, comments, or want me to make a video on a different topic, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, you can find all of the information about that in the description. As always, hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for listening.